for you. And then the thing is learning is balance. To get into horses. Ooh, someone's having a moment with their bucket. Hello and welcome back to Riding with Ree with me and Ted. Today we're talking about horse sharing versus horse loaning. What is the difference between the two? How much does it actually cost to do it? The contracts you should have if you're sharing or loaning, and then the agreements you should have in place. And if you enjoyed today's video with me and Ted, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It is our first horse sharing journey and we will be sharing our tips as we go along. Plus he's just very cute, I mean, yeah. Alright, so what is the actual difference between sharing and loaning a horse? Let's start with loaning because that is slightly simpler. When you loan a horse, you take on all of the responsibilities and all of the costs of owning a horse yourself. The only difference is that somebody else owns the horse, so eventually you may end up giving that horse back. If you're sharing a horse, you're taking on a part responsibility for that horse. So usually it's around 2 days a week. You would look after and ride that horse as if they were your own. You are paying for part of that horse's upkeep. Does that make sense? So if you're loaning a horse, as I said, you're taking on all of the costs that an owner would pay for, and that includes veterinary bills. Whereas if you're sharing a horse, you are just paying for that part of that horse's upkeep. Usually if it's a monetary value, you'll be paying anywhere between £80 and £120 a month. And depending on where the horse is on livery, that will range. So for example, if the horse is on DIY and you're doing chores in exchange for riding, you may find that the cost is slightly less. But if the horse is on full livery and you're not having to do any of the chores, you may find that the price is slightly higher. The other thing that can affect a price of a horse on share is actually how good they are. So if you are sharing a horse who is at competition level and you are going to be competing, you may find that the price for sharing that horse is slightly higher. There's actually no upfront cost associated with loaning a horse, but it is more expensive, and that is because you are taking on all of the costs associated with having that horse as if they were your own, and that includes veterinary bills, so that's something to bear in mind. Now, contracts sound really scary, but they are just there to protect you and the owner, really. I got my contract online as a template, and you can do the same. I will link it out for you in the description. So what I would do is take that template, fill it out yourself, and fill in any details that feel relevant. And changing any of the templates that don't suit you or that you don't think you'll need. Then I would sit down with your owner and cross out anything that you don't want to keep, add anything in, and that should set your contract up for success. So what kind of things can you expect to be in a contract? Well, really, it is just there to make sure that you know what your daily responsibilities are, what you are allowed to do with your horse, and what veterinary responsibilities you have. It's just there to help guide you both, and it shouldn't be seen as something to be afraid of. Alright, so you've got your contract, you know how much it costs. Now what I'd recommend is that you get a schedule set up with your owner so that you know who is doing what on what days. And this is just going to help balance your horse's learning so your horse isn't doing too much of the same thing. And finally, be really open and honest in your communication with your owners. It is fine to send them a text and say, hey, I really struggled today, I had a really bad ride, or hey, I had a great ride today. Because your owners know your horse way better than you do, and they will be able to give you advice if things are not quite going to plan. I message my owners every day once Ted is out in the field and say, hey, this is how today went, and then any other questions I have, and I would recommend that you do the same. Just be as open and honest as you can. Alright, well, that's it. I hope that you found this video useful. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. Leave me any questions I didn't answer in the description, and do subscribe if you haven't already done so. We will see you next time. You're so cute.